So this week, President-elect Donald Trump announces, he tweets, if the Hamas don't release those hostages by the time I get into the White House, woe is going to be to the Hamas. And suddenly the whole world's woken up, negotiations are back on the table. Turkey's involved, Egypt's involved, even Qatar is back on the table. And everyone's holding their breath. Hopefully this time the negotiations will work and the hostages will be back. But I think that after over a year, where the negotiations haven't led anywhere, and we haven't reached anything, we haven't progressed, perhaps it's time to listen to the advice of Torah on how to negotiate with an enemy. And by divine providence, it's in this week's Parashat Vayetze. Not one piece of advice, but actually two. One at the beginning and one at the end. At the beginning of the Parashat, the Torah tells us that Yaakov Avinu leaves Eretz Yisrael and he goes to Haran. And he introduces himself to his family the following. He says, I'm the son of Rivka and the brother of Lavan. Rashi says, what's going on? If he's the son of Rivka, of course he's related to Lavan. They were all family. Why does he repeat? Why does he add? And Rashi explains that Yaakov was saying the following. I am the son of Rivka. Rivka Imenu was a righteous woman. She was a pure soul that taught her children morals, values, and ethics. And Yaakov says, I hold the same morals, values, and ethics. However, I'm also the brother of Lavan, meaning Lavan, the cheat, the lie, the person who can do all those terrible things. If that's the way he treats me, I can be his brother. I can do exactly the same thing because I'm going to talk his language. My language, which I normally use, I use with normal people, with people that they behave. But if someone's going to be a crook and a lie, I know how to do the same. And therefore the Torah is teaching us the ABC of dealing with an enemy is exactly that. Hamas treats the world, they treat their own people in a terrible way. They murder, they rape, they lie, they cheat. Yet they expect Israel to have morals and values and to give them the aid and to stick to all the laws with regards to wars. But they don't do any of that. If Hamas knew that the Jewish people, yes, they have morals and values, and when they're dealing with normal people, of course, we have to stick to international standards and we have to do the right thing. But they have to know that when they're dealing with people like them, Israel is ready to speak to them on their language and to treat them exactly the same way they are treating others, then everything will change. The whole game will change. We cannot have this double standard where they're allowed to be lies and cheats and all these terrible things and do whatever they want. And we say, no, we're not like them. We're moral people. It doesn't work that way. When you're dealing with people like them, all of this flies out the window. You need to speak to them in their language. That's the first piece of advice that the Torah gives us. And the second is at the end of the parasha. You see when Yaakov Avinu, he leaves finally and he goes back home. Lavan chases him. And he catches up with him and he continues with all his lies and deceit. But finally, how does the saying go? If you can't win them, join them. He says to Yaakov, let's make a pact. Let's make a covenant, you and I. And Yaakov agrees. Lavan suggests that they make a monument. And Lavan calls it Yegar Sahaduta, which means a mound of commitment. And Yaakov says, no, we're going to call it Gal Ed, a mound of commitment, testimony. Basically the same thing, but in Hebrew. What's fascinating is that straight away the next verse, the Torah says, Vayikra lo Lavan Gal Ed. Lavan himself adopts the same name that Yaakov gives it. And the rabbis explain what's going on over here. It wasn't just that, okay, agreed the same language. But rather, when Lavan saw that Yaakov stood firm and he said, no, I speak Hebrew, this is my language, this is what I stand for. He saw that he was firm about it. He said, okay, I acquiesce, I give in, I follow what you want. And therefore, we have to remember that when it comes to negotiations, we have to stand strong on our values and our principles. If we believe something to be right, there's no negotiation. So if, for example, Israel believes that terrorists with blood on their hands should not be released, that's it. There's nothing to talk about. And when the terrorists, when Hamas see that we are strong about it, we're adamant, and that's the way it is, it won't be a negotiation. It will be off the table. And so on and so forth with all the other points. Israel has to be proud about our values, what we are, what we stand for, and then the negotiations will work. And please God, we'll have our hostages back with us speedily, very soon, already this week. May it happen with the best news. Wishing you Shabbat Shalom.